On a Wednesday afternoon live from BowTie Barbecue, a special pre-Thanksgiving edition of the Danny Britt Show. And it's always fun to do these because it means we're still rocking and rolling in the playoffs and all the goals are in front of us. Coach Danny Britt alongside us as he is every week. I'm Christian Gokel, and coming off of a really big win in the second round of the 4A playoffs and moving on to another Atlanta road trip headed up to Blessed Trinity this Friday, Coach. But starting with this past Friday night, y'all make the trip up to undefeated Ola, who having a historic season, had just come off of their first ever playoff win, and man, he kind of ran into a buzzsaw there for the first couple of drives. You knew coming into that one, just the city, the town, the school, the coaches, the players, they were all going to be fired up, and man, they came out swinging.
Yeah, and we anticipated that. We had talked about it as an entire team, and that we'd have to just kind of survive the initial surge that they were going to have, and didn't expect it to be quite as much as they did and jump up 14-0 on us, but definitely knew that it was going to be a little bit like that, and expected them to come out punching and swinging, and we did kind of survive that.
And that's something I know. It comes with experience of just consuming and watching football, right? You just kind of know when that kind of atmosphere is going to be there. But how do you communicate that to 15, 16, and 17-year-olds?
Well, it's really hard. I mean, that's what makes this hard. The job so hard is realizing that they are 15, 16, 17 years old, and it's hard to. I know what they want. They know what they want, but it's not always understood how to get there and to understand what they do. But I think the biggest thing is you go out, you practice a certain way continuously, you expect a certain way of play, and you only accept that. So you just keep doing that and not changing in your expectations.
I thought what was interesting about this one, starting on the defensive side of the ball, is we knew going into this one what they wanted to do. They were about 70% run, and they have two really talented running backs. The quarterback can get after with his legs a little bit. They have a third guy who plays linebacker but came in and was taking direct snaps, big number 2 there. So they wanted to run the football, and a lot of it was just pulling the backside guard, backside tackle, and just setting the edge. But what I thought was interesting, we really haven't seen it all year, is the patience from those running backs. And I think that's kind of what got us in the first half.
It did. They did a good job of initially coming out and moving us a little bit. And the backs were patient. They were. That's a good way to say it. They were very patient, just kind of waited there. Waited a second, and then boom, they burst through there. Right. And then they were moving us in the first quarter, certainly.
And is that Kevin always says, what are the adjustments? And I'm like, I don't know if it's so much adjustments, more so just coaching, because it's just execution a lot of times. And it felt like maybe A, we were trying to run upfield a little too much, but B, we just weren't getting to the gaps we needed to get to.
I think it's really more just that is kind of catching up to it. We work all week and do a great job with the scout team of running the plays at the opposing team. So we'd seen everything that they were throwing at us. We had worked against it, but it's not as good, obviously, as the team we're playing. So it takes a minute to catch up with it, and I think too, we wore them down. We were wrong shouldering. We were taking on things correctly. We were doing the things we were supposed to do, and we just kept saying, "Hey, just keep doing that, and they'll wear down eventually."
To your point, the first drive, they methodically move down the field, end up punching the ball into the end zone with their heavy package. But the second drive they come out, you do get them to a 4th and 1, but it's one of those situations where they put in a wildcat, and that becomes 11-on-11 football, and you guys miss one assignment, and it's 70 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, and of course we were crowded in. Everybody was around the line of scrimmage, but we had 2 guys go to the wrong gaps, so we had multiple guys in single gaps, and there you go. That's what happens when in those situations, and the guy busts through the line and there's nobody there. So, that's I won't say schematic. It's a schematic mistake by some of our players, and we just can't make it.
And I thought the answer from the offense was really cool because, again, you come out offense that's just kind of become their signature these last few weeks. Kind of sputters for the first couple of drives, penalties, just missing blocks and just getting behind the chains, kind of getting your way a little bit. But you come back out, you're down 14-0, and it just felt like the offense was like, okay, we have to kind of take some of the pressure off of the defense a little bit, able to move down the field and put some points on the board.
Yeah, there was no panic. Nobody was panicking. We were just talking about, hey, just continue to do what we do, and it's going to break through eventually. And, yeah, we got that score, and it felt very much like, oddly enough, we were still down 7. It felt like we were now becoming in control of the game.
And we talked about him all week last week as the guy, and I kind of compared him to a home run hitter who hadn't hit a home run in a few games, where it's every time the pitcher comes up, he's scared because he's like, I know this guy's due.
Right.
Bubba Frazier finally breaks a big one there on a slant route, and that's just kind of part of an onslaught from you guys from the second quarter on, where you score 34 unanswered points. But I thought him in particular in this game just kind of showed how dangerous he is and what kind of a football player he is.
Yeah, he took over. Of course, we were running the Bubba package, and he did a number of that, and then of course that was just a simple slant route that if you saw it, 3 different guys had angles on him, and he
but nobody had angles on him.
Nobody had an angle on him, and those guys weren't even close to touching him, and he accelerated. It was pretty fun to see.
It's just that speed again. I know Thanksgiving's coming up, but it's like the uncle being out in the yard with the 6 and 7 year olds,
right.
and it kind of just felt like it was a man amongst boys, and that kind of speed is just different. And it wasn't just in the passing game; he got involved in the running game. Stanley Smart as well, and I thought this week was cool because it was a talented defensive front for them, but you guys, because those guys are going back and forth on offense and defense, were really able to hit him on the edge.
Yeah, definitely. And, it was able to do a number of different things. I thought Josh ran the ball really well, too, on the edge.
Yep.
And we were blocking. Again, once we got into the second quarter and then certainly the third quarter, we kind of took control of the line of scrimmage.
And I thought it was an interesting just kind of comparison there between the two programs. Obviously, Ola coming in, very new school, very new program, coming into a historic win the week before. And then you guys, you get down 14-0, but you kind of got to saw what being there multiple time does, not just for the kids, but for the program as a whole.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody understands, hey, this can happen. Nobody's going to panic. And again, we felt like even when we were down 14-7, we felt like we were taking over. And, that's part of it. And just a lot of games in those situations. We've been there many times.
And I know AJ Phillips had another great game calling plays there. And what I find so fascinating about him is you look at Ola's offense, and it was plan A, and then they were like, man, there's like one page at the very end of the book with plan B on it, and we do not want to go to that page.
Right.
But it feels like there's plan A, B, C, D, E, F. And I know a lot of that's great players, but it feels like AJ has a lot of different buttons he can press when he needs to.
And he does. He pours hours upon hours into it, and having those, okay, here's what we're initially going to try to do. If we see this, or if this isn't working, this is what we're going to do next.
Right.
And he explains it to the kids. He said, hey, here's A, B, C, and D. This is what we're going to do. If we see this is what we're going to do. And he does a great job with it.
And what he avoids, what I think is awesome, is a lot of coordinators, even at the college and the NFL level, if you kind of get stonewalled a few times running, you kind of abandon it and start throwing it. But he's got different packages, different gaps that he's going to try to use, because first and foremost, y'all are always going to run the football.
We got to, and that we understand that in order to throw the ball, you got to be able to run the ball, and at least the way we want to do it. And so we're going to continue to do that. That's what our offense has always been. We're not just a zone. We're not a zone scheme offense. We're going to try to get angles and on people and get numbers on people, and whatever that takes is again, requires a lot of patience on his part, requires a lot of work with the kids to be able to do that, but that's the idea.
And then flipping over defensive side of the ball, I thought it was a different unit that kind of had to step up this week. Last week, the secondary really had to be big playing against that passing offense, but this week, I think it was the middle two, the defensive tackles, and then the linebackers who really had to do a good job. And again, first couple drives, it was a little shaky, but once those two groups kind of settled in, the Cam Cody's and Larson Littles, it felt like the defense was eaten.
But by halfway through the second quarter, it was pretty much on, and those guys were playing. Cam was a beast of the week. He had 10 tackles from that spot.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
I mean, just running through people. But third was the player of the game. He had 16 tackles from his spot, and he was wrong shouldering those guys. Had 6 hit men just from taking on blocks. I won't say taking them. That's not taking on a
delivering.
Block. That is delivering the hit on a blocker.
There's a couple of times where they tried to pull, and it was coming at him, and you just saw bodies crumple.
Yeah, and he was playing at a very high level, and had a really good game. Had 2 more sacks again, so he still leads the state in sacks.
Yeah, once they had to go to the passing offense, it was finally like he was like, okay, I don't have to worry about setting the edge anymore. I can just go get after the quarterback. Yeah. But speaking of Larson, I thought it was cool during the game. You talked about the prep that you guys did. coming into this one. It felt like, again, you said it midway through the second quarter and on, he was almost knew too well what the plays were, because he would jump to the outside, be waiting for him, and then kind of get eaten up by a block a little bit.
Right.
But once he settled in, you could see the game prep that went into it, how smart he could be.
He is a very smart player, and Coach Houston does a lot with him and talks directly to him, and then expects him to get it to the other guys. And Larson does a good job, does a lot of studying on his own too. And again, we try to show them at this point, we're really, for the most part, able to show them what they're going to do, because if teams are here, they're not changing everything once they get here, because they're here for a reason. So, we've shown them that, and it's just a matter of stopping it.
Now, I'm curious, because we're up in the booth a lot, or we're next to him, so I have a good idea of what A.J. DePhillips is like calling plays and during a game. Galen House is on the sideline a lot, and I'm curious, just when you are having that conversation down 14-0, what's his coaching style like, and how's he communicating with those guys?
He's aggressive, baby.
Okay.
He gets after it under the tent, and he's very smart and he's cerebral. But when it's time to get after it, I can promise you he's getting after it. So it's so weird, because I don't have as much conversation with him, because once the defense comes off the field, they're in the tent, I'm over on offense, and dealing with that, and boom, back to defense. So we're kind of in the mode at when I'm on the headphones with him, and but yeah, he's extremely intense, but does a really good job. Again, we talked about it. He's a play caller. He doesn't just two different things. Defensive mindset, just scheme up during the week, get your guys in the right position, and basically be a check with me type.
Sure.
Defense. He's not. He's a play caller. So that's why you'll see it adjust a lot. And that's why sometimes you'll see everybody, going, what are we doing? Because it takes him a minute to call them. But once he gets in a rhythm, it's pretty daggum good.
And I know you talk about Fiery, his son, defender for you guys as well. I'll say this. We do that stop in Macon before we take the rest of the trip up. There's a couple of folks, I won't say getting rowdy, but you could tell just kids start getting hyped up a little bit. He was the one that kind of clapped at him and said, hey, lock in. So I guess a little bit like father, like son there.
Yeah, definitely. And he's been around us, since I can remember, since he was a little boy. So he understands what it takes to be a coach and have the right mindset.
And I saw him, like some other guys like Jameer Lee, obviously getting in there, but taking very significant snaps for you guys too.
They have for months now, as they're getting in as younger guys and doing a really good job for us. Both of them are very physical guys.
All right, Coach, just a couple of things to clean up from that game. I know Stanley Smart with the fumble, and it's one of those things where we talked about the keys before the game, and I said you just can't let the avalanche happen where the one mistake turns into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What I thought was cool is Stanley Smart fumbles, and then he's the first person to touch the ball on the next drive.
Yeah, he fumbled and he just dropped the ball. It was the weirdest thing, and he immediately, if you saw him, he was hitting his chest. He's like, man, it's on me. That's on me. I don't know why.
Sure.
Just focus, I guess, lack of focus. And, but I heard Coach Phillips say, that's all right. We're going to get it right back to you. And we need him to be successful for our offense to be successful.
And then officiating. I thought it was a pretty cleanly officiated game for 99% of it, but you guys do what you do where you scout them up and you try to steal a possession, and I think a lot of it had to do with the wind. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that wind was cooking, and you were kicking into it. But you took a shot and did the old Alabama play where from like the Clemson national championship where you just send a gunner down there to hop up and catch a kind of a pooch kick right there, and the officials call fair catch interference. I'm curious if you got an explanation from them on that one, but that kind of blew our minds a little bit.
The first one, he did a good job and hit it. He fumbled, but we didn't get the ball.
Right. The one we actually recovered, they still called a penalty.
Because he caught it in the air.
Okay.
And you can't – it never hits – it has to hit the ground or hit the ground by hitting a person who is, in essence, on the ground. You can't catch it in the air. And so we know that. It's just it never happens.
Yeah.
But what happened is he kicked it short, and the wind was blowing pretty hard, as you say. So it just kind of blew the ball back, and he was able to just go snag it out of the air. But that's true, Aaron. You can't do that. It has to hit the ground or a person.
I might be misremembering, but is that just a high school rule, or is that football throughout? Because I seem to remember in that national championship where it was Deshaun Watson and Alabama going back and forth, they kind of chipped that one up, and he just caught it in the air. But maybe I'm misremembering.
I think it has.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure it's across football is it has to hit the ground or a person.
Okay.
Before you can recover it. You have to give them the opportunity to catch it.
Right.
But now if they hit it into the ground and it popped up,
there you go.
There you go. But I don't remember that play, to be honest with you.
We'll show it to you afterwards. We'll do a little film study. We'll break that down. That's going to be for the premium subscription that you got to pay for to watch that stream. But again, big 34-14 win, and I told Kevin afterwards, man, it was the most satisfying win maybe of the year, just because you guys, again, you dealt with a lot, some stuff that you knew you were going to deal with coming in, maybe thinking you're going to spot them 7, not 14,
right.
But still. The 34-0 run at the end, I thought that was the most complimentary football you guys have probably played all season.
I think so. I think we're talking at halftime, and you, like I said, in the second quarter, you could kind of tell we were kind of taking over, and I'm like, guys, here, do we want to do this? Do you don't want it to be over, or do we want to do this? Do we want to come back together next week? And they're like, no, because we want to, and I'm like, then go do it. Just go take it right now. It's available for you to take. And we did, and the kids went out in every aspect, and just basically, it'd be like a boxer just going out and just landing all the blows, and that's what we did.
Again, massive 34-14 win there. Now moving on to another Atlanta road trip, heading up to Roswell this Friday to take on Blessed Trinity. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, preview it next, right here on the Danny Britt Show.
BowTie Barbecue has always been a work of passion. It takes time, skill, and a blend of perfect temperature, wood, smoke, and meats. We just took it up a notch. Taste the passion. BowTie Barbecue, 6724 Waters Avenue, Savannah. At Benedictine alumni-owned Stacked Firewood Delivery, we're all about the best premium firewood, conveniently delivered in manageable stacks at the right price. We're talking kiln-dried, pest-free firewood. You see, our custom stack is equal to about 10 fires. Choose oak, cherry, hickory, or mixed hardwoods. Stacked Firewood Delivery. Go to stackedwood.com. That's stackedwood.com. BC Brothers Moving is Savannah's most trusted moving service. From residential to commercial to packing supplies, BC Brothers does it all. Let BC Brothers' energetic, trustworthy team wrap it, pack it, and move it for you. Check out BC Brothers online at bcbrothersmoving.com or give them a like. Ace Hardware is celebrating 100 years of helpful, and Island's Ace Hardware is Savannah's own. 318 Johnny Mercer Boulevard in Wilmington Island. They're our hometown, locally owned Ace Hardware. From A to Z, they've got it all to help you get things done. Island's Ace Hardware is a proud BC sponsor.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Welcome back into the Danny Britt Show live from BowTie Barbecue. And, Coach, heading up to Atlanta again, third week in a row for the third round of the playoffs.
Yes, and at this stage, every move matters. And I'm not just talking about football. I'm talking about your family's finances. Abel's Iron Moore & Associates is ready to help you craft a winning strategy for college, retirement planning, or creating general wealth. Contact Abel's Iron Moore & Associates today.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, third road trip up to Atlanta. And before we dive into the Blessed Trinity stuff, I know with the removal of 7A and kind of kicking everybody down a notch, they shifted which regions were playing which in the playoffs here. And I was kind of like, man, this is a rough road, like literally a road, a lot of miles under your belt. But inside of 4A, outside of the region we're playing, there's not a whole lot of schools that are very close. So either any of the regions that you play against, this is probably the closest. So I know for the fans, they're like, man, Atlanta potentially 5 times in a row.
Right.
This might be the nicest way we could have done it.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, and we saw that when we lost to Perry and realized that was the road and the path. So be it. It got closer last week. This week it gets about an hour further to go up to Roswell, but whatever, man. We get the opportunity to play football. We can get on some nice charter buses, and my man Hollis Johnson at Above and Beyond is taking care of us there, and we'll enjoy the trip and get up there and have some good food and take our time getting there, and then go up there and hopefully do what we do.
Listen, we're becoming frequent flyers. We're getting really used to the sleep on the way home. I mean, the first time you do it, it's like the first time you fly on a plane, you're awake the whole time, but by the 10th time you do it, it's just knocked out on the way home. So listen, everybody's locked in, good to go. I think the kids too are kind of getting used to it. But now you go up to take on Blessed Trinity, and the thing that kind of struck me, Coach, is this is a 10-1 football team. The only team they lost to is Milton, who's just a juggernaut up in 6A, formerly 7A. and they, like y'all, only played 9 regular season games. They run a very similar offense to you guys, a similar defense to what you guys run. Another Catholic school. There's a lot of parallels and similarities between the two programs.
Yeah, very much. I mean, very similar. Again, Catholic schools, going to be very sound offensively, defensively, special teams. Got a really good kicker. Fergie did inform me that he's a 4.5 star, not a 5-star.
Okay.
So he's not quite as good as ours, but
still better than most.
But he's really good.
Yeah.
I think he hit 5 field goals last week for him. But a good sound football program, well coached, beautiful campus. I don't know if you've ever been on there, but beautiful campus. So, it'll be great atmosphere, and I'm sure, and look forward to the challenge.
No, they play in the same region as my alma mater, so the Kell Longhorns.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Who unfortunately fell. I thought we might have a BC Christian Go Kell Bowl at the end there, but they fell on the other side last week. But as I mentioned, Coach, a very similar style to what you guys want to run offensively. They're going to be typically 3 or 4 wide. They'll play a tight end, 1 running back in the backfield. They just want to spread you out, a lot of zones. But what I've kind of noticed is probably a little bit bigger than us on the outside. They've got a couple of guys, 6'4", 6'5", tight end, wide receiver types who can really get out there and kind of turn into an extra tackle and lead block on those bubble screens.
And that's what I've noticed about over the years with Blessed Trinity. They've always had those guys, not necessarily huge offensive linemen,
right.
Kind of normal sized guys for the most part, but always had the 6'4", 6'5", 6'3", tight end, H-back guys that they just can roll in there that are athletic and can move. So do a lot with it, and do a very good job with it, and a lot of pin and pull. That's what they love, just basically pin and pull, and tons of it, basic zone football.
And for the Zach Maxwells and JoJo Suttons, who great athletes, but they are not 6'4", 6'5".
Right.
What's the coaching to getting out there and trying to hold up on the edge while the cavalry comes?
Yeah, I mean, they know this, and you just go make plays. I don't believe in going quote low. You go midsection.
Sure.
And the knees cause more concussions than anything else. And so no, you go midsection and then drop them. But the receivers are for the most part very average size for Blessed Trinity, but they do have those big tight end H-back guys.
And I know the one game that they did lose to Milton, it seemed like the denominator there was Milton was just able to get after him with 4 consistently time and time again. So to me, that kind of puts the onus on Cam Cody and Third Scroggins, guys who have answered the call over and over and over again.
Yeah, they're gonna have to have huge games and be able to put pressure on the quarterback without us having to blitz a ton. And although we will do that some, but they're gonna have to put some pressure on them. And of course, Milton's what are they ranked like 4th in the country or something right now. Of course, we played Buford, very well, and they're ranked 11th in the country.
I think Milton beat Buford like 13-10 or something.
It was first game of the year. It was 13-10, and so it's very comparable.
And I know offensively, you probably can't afford to get into a 14-0 hole again against Blessed Trinity. So I know I've asked you this before, and if you knew the answer, Andy Reid and Bill Belichick and then would be calling you for it. But how do you come out hot on offense and try to put up some points early?
I don't know. I have said over it, like I asked the kids, I'm like, guys, why are we starting slow? Like, what is going on? I don't know. We just got to go out there and play. And again, there's only so much we can control as coaches in the game. What we can control is practice. And we practice the same way with the same expectations every single time. So you just got to think, we'll have those same expectations, and we'll go out and hopefully that, we'll start strong, because you're right. We can't fall in that hole again.
And I know everyone looks at the quarterback and the wide receivers and the running backs, but going back and watching the tape from the last few games, those first few drive, have the offensive line, are they fitting and getting where they need to be?
They've been fitting fine. Now, you look back at the first round game, and we started strong. Stanley busted all 65 yards, and there was a hold call.
The phantom hold.
That was not there. I mean, I didn't even know they called it on poor Lawrence. Well, that didn't happen.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't even know what it was. So, I don't know what else to do with that. I can't control the officials for sure. But, last week we were not moving them like we've were later in the second, third, and fourth quarter.
One guy I thought first time all year, I was going to say that I saw emotion from him was your Auburn commit a tackle, Jacoby Ward, where he actually got fired up and he was putting some people on their back. And he's been rock solid all season. But
Right.
I thought in that game, and maybe it was the emotion of what you said at halftime, where it's like, this can be it. Like that,
Right.
it's done. And you guys are going on to the rest of your lives. But it felt like he played with some passion, and you guys have started to kick him kind of around a little bit depending on the formation, the down and distance. Right. And I think you talk about weapons, that can be a weapon.
No, he did. And he came out, and the entire offensive line, well, the entire team, offensive team started blocking really well and for each other. But yeah, the offensive line, in the last three quarters last week really started just moving people. And yeah, I think he does. He's starting to realize, hey, this may be it. If I don't win, it is it.
Yeah.
I'm next is college, and that's a whole different thing. So he was showing emotion, and he was moving people, and I think he had 3 pancakes in the second half. They're just absolutely flat backing people. So good on him.
And there's nothing against the other 4 guys on that line because they have played their tails off all season. But when you got 8 inches and about 50, 60 pounds on those guys, when he gets mad, that's an asset.
That is an asset. Yeah, no doubt. And he, that's why we're moving him around and having, trying to put him in places to make plays.
And it's not sneaky because he does not.
Yeah, you can't hide him.
He doesn't blend in.
You know where he's going, that's for sure. You're like, well, there's the big guy.
But again, huge game coming up on the road against Blessed Trinity. As I mentioned, we said it last week, but it's just kind of the running joke. No bad teams left, but it's pretty much just elite teams left at this point in an elite program. And I know that presents challenges of its own because they're not going to beat themselves. The fans are going to be out there. It's going to be a hostile environment. It's going to have to be A-plus effort from every unit coming up on Friday night.
It is, and you're right. And that's why we wanted to play in this league so that you get to an Elite Eight and you can be proud of that. Yeah. Nothing's given. 1, 2, you're going to be playing really, really good programs, really good football teams. And, that's what we're going to have. And we're either going to have to go play really well, play extremely emotional and physical football, very smart and disciplined football, or we're going to lose and be shooting hoops. It's that simple.
Wrestling and shooting hoops. That's right.
That's right.
Last guy I want to ask you about your quarterback, Amari Burse. I thought from round 1 to round 2, just a completely different football player. He was able to get the offense into the formations they needed to get into. I thought executed at a really high level, and when he needed to throw the football, I thought a better game from him. Coming into this game this week, just mentally, emotionally, and execution-wise, what do you need out of your quarterback?
Yeah, and just to run the offense and do what he's done very well all year. We're going to have to hit some passes for certain, and certainly we missed in that first game. Last week we hit a couple more, but we're going to have to hit some of those passes, but definitely just continue running the offense like it needs to be.
And Coach, before I let you get out of here, tomorrow Thanksgiving, what's the schedule look like for the team?
It's real simple. We are only practicing tomorrow for basic 2 hours. It's a basic same Thursday we had all the way back when we were getting ready for game 1. But we'll practice 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, and then I'll cut them loose and they can go be with their families.
Is the Britt family a Thanksgiving lunch or Thanksgiving dinner family?
Well, for you, seeing as how, we've been practicing, it's been a Thanksgiving late afternoon, type dinner deal, but nobody's home. The kids are gone. Everybody's gone. So Steph and I are headed to over to South Carolina and staying at a hotel and doing it that way. So I don't know when we're eating, but we'll eat in the restaurant there.
I was going to say, start a new tradition there on Thanksgiving. And then finally, as the college football fan, I know all eyes for you are on going to be Georgia Southern coming up against App State this weekend. But Thanksgiving traditionally leads into rivalry week.
Right.
And I'm curious, which one of these rivalry games to you sticks out the most as the most prominent on rivalry? You got the Iron Bowl, you got the game. I love the Egg Bowl just because it's on Thanksgiving. But for you, what's your favorite one of those to watch this weekend?
Oh, my gosh. I'll watch Georgia Tech just because of Georgia Tech.
Sure.
Well, no, I won't watch it.
Yeah, you'll be
it's
a little
Friday.
busy.
That's right. I'll be busy. I forgot they're playing it on Friday.
You'll be a little busy.
So, no, I will not get to watch it, but I'll check that out. So, normally that's what I would watch. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl is huge. And I'm usually hopefully continuously busy with my own stuff,
sure.
But we will be at Georgia Southern pulling for them.
Sun Belt championship appearance on the line coming up on Saturday. Old Clay Helton getting after it there in Statesboro.
He is.
Again, huge one coming up against Blessed Trinity this Friday. I know potentially a bus carrying some Cadets fans up to Roswell. So if you need any more information on that, I think the Benedictine Facebook page posted that. So if you need some more information on that, just head over there. But need to see a whole lot of folks caravanning from Savannah up to Blessed Trinity to show your support, because this is about as big as it gets.
Yeah, this is it, man. They've I forget how many 4A state championships have been won, from these two teams. I think 17, 18, 19 from them, 21 and 22 from us. So a lot of state championships here. So it's going to be a massive game, and we need as many people there supporting people in the Atlanta area coming out and supporting us, and I'm sure they'll have a great crowd themselves.
And if you cannot make the trip, one of your options is to go to Watch BC Sports right here on YouTube, and Kevin Thomas and myself will be on the radio call for that one. Again, due to a contract, you guys yell at me every Friday night, due to a contract between the GHSA and the NFHS, we are not legally allowed to video broadcast that game, but we will have for free the audio call if you cannot make it up to Atlanta for that one. So check it out here on YouTube. Cadets kickoff at 7:30, the same time as Georgia and Georgia Tech kickoff up in Athens. So you can have us on the radio, you can have Georgia Tech on the TV, and you'll have all your football needs right there. For Coach Britt, I'm Christian Gokel. Hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you on Friday night.
Go Cadets.